Boogie Cousins just exited the NBA playoffs with his second major injury in the same amount of years. And it's a devastating blow. Thankfully, the Warriors still have a lot of talent on the team. They're probably not going to miss him too much. However, there's a lot of things to look at from a sports medicine performance standpoint when we're looking at this injury. And I think the most important thing to be able to see in this instance is that Boogie Cousins is 6'11", 270 pounds. That's what he's listed at on his NBA player page. And when you are that tall, when you are that big, that explosive, that athletic, human beings are not designed to be 6'11", 270 pounds. And they're certainly not designed to be 6'11", 270 pounds and that athletic. One of the things that we see a lot with sprinters in the Olympics is that they get hurt. They pull hamstrings at a pretty good rate. And with that, and relating it to what's happening here with Boogie, is that when we're talking about elite athletes, people that are operating well out of societal norms, this isn't safe. When Boogie Cousins is 6'11", 270 and running as fast as he possibly can, this is not what human beings were designed to do. This isn't within societal norms. They do not fall under the same categories and same research experiments that the general public would. They don't follow the same guidelines. Being that tall and that athletic is inherently dangerous. It's inherently more dangerous than somebody who is 6'1" and 170 pounds, or 5'8" and $150. Like those are much more controllable. But when you are that tall and that athletic, it is far less safe. You're far more vulnerable to injuries when you are designed at a much greater scale like DeMarcus Cousins is. But if we look back, if we want to dive into the sports medicine, sports performance side of it, we do see that these are both left-sided injuries. The torn quad and the torn Achilles in back-to-back years were both left-sided injuries. Now, there's obviously some things that can happen from a torn Achilles where you would be compensating more over the course of a long rehab full-year process where you might be compensating more with that left quad. What we understand is that through the asymmetrical nature of the body and how the left pelvis is anteriorly tipped more often than not, it will lengthen that left hamstring, which will shorten that quadricep on the right side and put a lot of stress on that left calf as it is trying to hold you up in place of the hamstring, which will, of course, give you a lot more stress on the Achilles, which we can point to as a strong possibility for a major player and why that left Achilles popped to begin with. And then also, once that Achilles did pop, how much more stress was added to that left quad. Now, these are things that we have to keep an eye on when we are in the rehab process, making sure that they aren't changing their movement patterns and becoming changing the way they walk and the way they run because of the initial injury, which is the left Achilles. We still have to make sure that we're appreciating, like, while these are very real vulnerabilities, and we have no idea what's going on in their training program. From what I understand, I'm sure his programs were strong, and I know from experience that a lot of NBA players are putting a lot of emphasis on Achilles resiliency. Regardless of what was going on within his training program, this is a natural vulnerability for athletes and normal people. And then it's far more expedited. It is far greater of a vulnerability for somebody of that stature and trying to be able to control those limbs, that femur length, that tibia length, torso length, and then on top of it, the grind of an NBA schedule, the increased intensity of an NBA playoff game, the pressure. Boogie has probably, I don't know what his career has been like, but I don't think he was in the playoffs with New Orleans last year, and I'm not sure he ever made the playoffs with Sacramento. And given the increased neural awareness and neural pressure, this is most humans will be reverting back into that right leg, reverting into their bad postures, and this is always going to be increasing the vulnerability with the size and stature of the athlete. It puts them in a difficult position. So going forward, they're going to have to get in there and repair the injury, and then they're just going to have to continue to work on building up his strength and building up his symmetry with an asymmetrical approach, of course, and try to build that resiliency over the course of his career.